Hello, I'm Evelyn Summerin here today to meet with Borough Commander Simon Rose to discuss the 2017 objectives. Well, thank you so much for having us here today. Simon, would you like to tell us a bit more about how the crime rate has reduced in the last couple of years?
Well, obviously, the priority for Barnet, particularly, is burglary, residential burglary. It's very important. We're a very large borough, sort of wealthy homes, and the burglary rate is unacceptably high. We have, however, had some success over the last couple of years. Certainly in the last 12 months, we're actually 11% down in relation to burglary. That's 381 less homes that have been broken into. So it's improvement, it's signs of progress, but it's certainly going to be a big priority for us for the next quarter.
Next quarter. What else do you have in mind for next quarter?
Really, I suppose there's four priorities. Politicians usually give everything in threes, but for us it's four this time. Burglary, of course, but there's a specific initiative in relation to burglary. It's the Smart Water Met Trace programme. We've been very fortunate to get an awful lot of funding from central government and MOPAC, the Mayor's Office of Policing and Crime. There'll be an extra 11,000 Met Trace smart water kits that we'll be issuing to homes and houses in Barnet to try and help residents make their homes safer, to reduce the chance of burglary. So it's burglary, it's Met Trace and smart water, that's 1 and 2. Third priority for us is going to be gangs. It's certainly an emerging threat in London, serious youth violence and young people, making bad decisions that potentially affect the rest of their lives. Again, very fortunate with the local authority. They've invested an awful lot of money in a new system to share intelligence and information much more effectively. It will help us target the gangs. This is the eSINs computer system. So we'll be working with that with the local authority, having a push, particularly around the Dulwich Valley and Graham Park estate. That's priority number 3. And the fourth one is antisocial behaviour around the Burnt Oak area in Watling Market. It's a bit of an eyesore in the borough and that needs some action.
Okay. So you mentioned burglary. What's the progress so far?
It's an improving picture, but the level is unacceptably high. I think in the last 6 months we've seen significant improvement. If we're tracking significantly under where we were last year, just around 11% reduction. So it's 381 less offences. I think most of this is down to a more targeted approach, identifying the houses that are potentially most vulnerable, getting additional advice with partners at Barnet TV. I think we've done a little clip around some of the nil cost measures or nil cost options you can do to make your home safer. So we're focusing on prevention really. And a small team proactively targeting those most harmful offenders, not necessarily for burglary. It's the Al Capone approach, if you like. If we can catch them for no TV licence, a breach of a community service order, no seatbelt, any form of disruption, we are lawfully and audaciously targeting those people we think are most likely to commit burglary in our borough.
Could you tell Barnet community what they can do to support your efforts into reducing crime and burglary?
A lot of things we'd ask the community to do are nil cost or hardly any cost options. It's simple things like locking your doors when you go out and making sure they're double locked, considering whether or not your bin would be an option for someone to climb onto to get over a wall to into your back garden from where they could have plenty of time to break in. It's a lot of these really quite simple nil cost or minimal cost, just cutting your front hedge down a little bit. From the drive you can actually see the front door, so a burglar can't feel they're in a safe space to try and force their way in. For me though, it's just really asking for a bit of help. Safer Neighbourhood officers, the dedicated ward officer or the PCSO, they'd be delighted to come round and do an environmental audit, a risk audit of your home and make some suggestions about what changes you can make. We want to help, just ask us.
That's great, just ask. And what about antisocial behaviour?
In relation to antisocial behaviour, or ASB, we're terrible with acronyms.
ASB,
The priority for us is going to be the Burnt Oak area, particularly around Watling Market. This year there's an awful a lot of enthusiasm and commitment from the local authority, particularly from Matt Leng, one of the officers at the council. We've got an environmental audit. We've had the Trident, that's just the gun crime people. They've got designing out crime officers to come in and specifically evaluate what changes could be made to design out the opportunity for ASB. There's some wonderful recommendations they make. I've seen them make them on other estates. Examples where there have been youths persistently causing trouble outside a fast food restaurant, congregating on a low wall. Rather than ask officers to come around and disperse the youths, which can be confrontational, all they advise doing is putting a small section of cross-cat bricks.
Right, yeah.
It's not making the wall dangerous, but it's just slightly more uncomfortable to sit on. So the youths buy their fast food and dissipate, and the antisocial behaviour evaporates into nothing without confrontation, without hostility. Those subtle environmental changes, that's what we're hoping to bring in the Burnt Oak area, in the Watling Market area, but also with the new owner of the Watling Market. We can work with them, try and increase the security, increase the gating and the fencing to, design it out and make it a safer, more publicly welcoming space.
Yeah.
That's the priority for Watling Market.
Sounds like a good plan.
Hopefully I look forward to updating you in 6 months' time.
Great. Thank you so much.